had the pleasure to be around in New York City for the last few days, and I've noticed that there's a stark contrast between the tourists who are crossing the street and the people who are from here who are crossing the street. And the difference being that the tourists will just look up at the signal and be like, okay, well, I can't go now, it's red. Oh, it's green, I can go now. And it's just not safe. They've misplaced their signal and noise ratio, but the locals know to watch the cars, and more importantly, the bikes and the scooters, and evaluate the situation and pick up, okay, what's the actual signal here that I need to know in order to be safe? And so that's what we're gonna dive into in this next session. I wanna welcome back up Jeff Lunsford and also Heather Acubo.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Welcome, Heather. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here.
So, Heather is from Databricks. Tealium is built on Databricks now after the last upgrade to our architecture, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of fun things, separating signal from noise in the AI boom. So Heather, Databricks is one of the early AI pioneers, and you've been there for since almost the beginning. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your tenure there and your journey, and then what you do there now?
Yeah, sure. So I've spent 8 years at Databricks. I've run a sales team. I've expanded or helped expand our APJ region based out of Singapore. Spent a little bit of time on the M&A side, and now I'm in our partners organization where I work with strategic partners like Tealium. And it's just awesome to see what you guys are doing. I love the data layers message. It's super
We'll get you a t-shirt.
I will wear it with pride. It's one of the most important parts to getting AI right, getting the data right.
That's great. It's good to hear. And as I said earlier, today we want to try to give the audience some real world success stories, to discount that MIT clickbait, which I headlined, the 95% are failing. So I was wondering if you could open by giving us a couple of examples of what Databricks is seeing where companies really have nailed it and are getting great value out of their AI projects.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, we have thousands of customers that have already implemented Gen AI at Databricks. We have 20,000 customers globally, and AI is a big area. It's a big space. We've been doing traditional AI since our founding, so we had a good base to build on. When I think of companies that are doing really exciting things and maybe kind of pushed through that failure rate, MasterCard comes to mind. They're a company that is wanting to drive over 50% of their revenue from data products. And they had 300 POCs going on throughout their organization. The problem was they weren't getting them into production. And so they did a workshop and brought a lot of product leaders together, and they said, what is holding us back from hitting that production go point? And they realized that they didn't have a really great way to actually get through some of the regulatory and legal privacy concerns that their organization had. So they actually built a Gen AI assistant to help those POCs understand how to move from ideation into production.
Cool.
So they took that, the Gen AI pain point, and they turned it on its head and said, we can use Gen AI to do this. This is the MasterCard Assistant, and it has tremendous usage and adoption. Has helped break through to get things into production for MasterCard. I have another fun example. So any football fans out there, Fox Sports?
Yeah.
Does anybody know who Cletus is? Cletus?
No.
I don't know. Yeah, the robot, that's right. So we recently worked with Fox Sports to archive and label essentially their decades worth of sports data. Wow. And Cletus is an AI assistant on the Fox Sports app that you can go and ask any question. So they essentially needed a semantic layer or a data layer in order to be able to understand the intent of any any user who is going to put a search into the Cletus AI assistant on their website. And that was a huge effort. Again, it starts with the data, and then it comes into, a knowledge assistant, a question answer bot. And then, we're continuing to focus on the quality and working very closely with the Fox Sports team to improve that experience for consumers anywhere in the world. So, fun examples.
Awesome. MasterCard and Fox Sports. So, can you talk for a minute about, we founded Tealium to build a real-time data layer too. So, and I talked about batch data pipelines and then real-time data. We think when it comes to customer experiences, that real-time data is really important. It doesn't mean that batch pipelines go away, but we think there's a time and a place for each. So do you have any examples out in the world where people are using real-time data to do something interesting, like maybe fraud or anything else like that?
Yeah, so there's been a huge shift in the market towards real-time streaming data. The power of the technology for personalization is just incredibly important and has been very valuable. One example around fraud in particular has been AT&T. They've been using a Databricks to help around a cyber/fraud solution where they're accessing a wide number of data sets, and they're essentially using extraction, entity and data extraction techniques, Gen AI techniques, to pull out information to do real-time fraud detection. And they've used this kind of multi-step system or a workflow to help reduce their fraud by over 80%, which is super important when you're providing an important service for people and you have a tremendous number of people signing up. So being able to get those fraud signals in real time means that they're able to save money, but also protect identities of their users.
Yeah, that's huge. Like that 80% lift. That's another example. These stunning improvements when you go from batch to real time, or apply AI and/or both. It's crazy the lift we're seeing out there.
Especially when milliseconds matter, right? And you've got to have the right data, be able to combine it, make a judgment, and essentially stop fraud.
Yeah. So one of the topics here is patterns of success. So we tend to run into organizational friction and turf wars as probably the number one prohibitor of adoption out there in these big companies.
Yeah.
Have you guys cracked the code, or do you see patterns in the companies that are advancing more quickly versus the ones that are kind of stuck in the mud just because of organizational?
Yeah, we definitely face the same kind of challenges in our politics, and we hear a lot about boards pushing down, exactly as you mentioned earlier. What are we doing with AI? What are we doing? Where are we going to get the results? And then at the same time, there's a lot of concern around, well, what data is going in? Can we trust the results of what's coming out of the AI machines? And that's why we find governance to be so important. The ability to know who has access to the data, provide lineage so that you can do auditability on what data was used, what models were used, what the outputs were, and how those were used in making business decisions. But I think that the companies that I've seen be the most successful, it starts from the top. You're an awesome example of that, where it's pushed down and said, okay, I know it's going to be a little bit, there's going to be some rough edges, but let's do something like a hackathon. Really early days, we worked with Block. They're a payments processing company, and Jack Dorsey, their CEO, brought everybody together and said, we're going to start with enablement. We're going to learn what is out there, what are the options, what are the product components that we can put together, and then we're going to do a quick follow-on with a hackathon, where we're going to go after big areas where we think we can move the needle and make an impact on revenue. And from that, they came up with hundreds of ideas. Okay, so that's cool. He sponsored it, lots of ideas. Then they had to refine refine it to what could we actually do and put into production. And they wanted to be a bit more internally focused first as they got a better sense of how these systems could be built. They focused on onboarding their customers faster, because as they onboarded their customers faster, they drove revenue. Saw a huge improvement in how they were onboarding customers, and that gave them enough confidence to actually open source their own agent called Goose. So that took about a year for them to go all the way through to open sourcing their own.
Is that a reference to Top Gun, like Goose in the back seat?
No, maybe.
Maybe? Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing, the same thing, like the companies where you have the top-down sponsorship, that's key. And then we're also seeing this interesting phenomenon where now there are these AI, they start off as AI advisory boards, and then what they really become are AI approval boards, where you can't put anything into production unless the AI authorization committee says it's okay, especially in banks, where I do a lot of work in banks. But a way to kind of work through that and make your company more nimble is to put these members of these AI approval boards embedded down in the teams, right? Just like embedded media in a combat scenario or whatever. Like if they're down there and they're seeing what's happening in real time, then you don't have this, what we see is like, if you have a batch delayed serial process in the age of AI, you're going to fall behind, right? You've got to be able to iterate rapidly and in real time. And so if you're going to have an AI approval board, they better be embedded in working with the teams, right?
Yep. Another great best practice is to pair the engineer with the business. Yep. You're able to iterate really quickly, but you're also then able to prove that real ROI, bring that back to the executive board, back to the business stakeholders so that they feel really confident that it's not just experimentation, that it's going to deliver real results.
Yeah. I think something that probably all of you are living through out there and that we as technology vendors are living through also is there's a big cram down from boards also to reduce the number of vendors you're working with. So ROI has really become important.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we better show ROI so that we don't become one of those vendors that gets engineered out. And it's hard dollars. I was in Dubai last week, and the COO of a global telecom company says, give me the ROI from the Egypt project, and then here's the other 4 countries you're going to go live in, like very rapidly.
Yep.
Or if there is no ROI in Egypt, then maybe we don't go live anywhere. So it's like that ROI is absolutely critical. Okay, so does small equal fast? Do the engineering teams or the product teams that you're seeing out there, have they gone from 2 pizza boxes to maybe 1 pizza box? Or are you seeing 1 engineer orchestrate 10 agents? Like what are the organizational patterns you're seeing out there in the wild?
Well, I think it's so the first is there's silos, right? Organizational silos and data silos, and that is the enemy of a good AI solution.
Yeah.
You need to have that interconnectedness, and so it may be that small is good if it's within this one step of the agentic chain, but you're going to have to, what we've seen is that when you're able to break pieces down and then combine them together, that's where you're able to get completely nonlinear ROI with very high quality results. So we're very focused right now on evaluation of the outputs of these AI agents and compound AI systems. That's one of the hardest things to unlock, and we've through our acquisition of Mosaic AI a couple years ago, we acquired a research team, and really that's what they're focused on. How do we help enterprises understand if these agentic systems are producing better results? And then furthermore, when things change, when you get a new foundation model, a new model from OpenAI or from Anthropic or Gemini, when those changes come through, what's the impact to your system? And can you still get the same quality that you were getting before when you originally tested? Because we all know these things are going to change and drift over time, and this becomes a system that you have to manage, and you constantly need to be knowing that you're getting a high quality result so that you feel confident in how it's being deployed. All of this is incredibly complex, so I would say small teams working together is where it's working really well.
And that common data layer that you talked about, critical. It's almost as if someone should start a company, like to maybe build a common data layer. Like,
I wonder if that exists, Jeff.
No, like we tell folks that, when sometimes we go into big, AT&T is a customer of ours as well, like we'll go into these meetings and sometimes people from different divisions are meeting each other for the first time because it's a Tealium meeting. I'm sure you run into that with Databricks. Like, okay, the call center team and the mobile team and the media operations team, they don't know each other because they typically didn't work together. And so, you drive digital transformation by giving them a common data layer, which then gives them a common data language. Right? And so that they can each understand their business. And to your point, you get these huge unlocks when you can bring mobile data into a call center session, or web data into an in-store session, or mobile data into an in-store session. You get these phenomenal unlocks. That's like that Meta case study where they had 137% improvement in sales in this brick and mortar because they were offering people things in stores, giving them incentives to go in stores when they were near stores. And just
simple.
Yeah, it's so simple.
But you got to connect those disparate data sources. I think maybe another pattern that I see that is incredibly powerful is once that layer is built, it's opening up access and encouraging access to be creative with what's possible and continuing that hackathon art of the possible kind of ideation. When organizations have access to data, they're able to think about it really differently. So this has been something predating the agentic Gen AI boom that we're in now. But when I've been working with companies throughout my time at Databricks, when there's an ethos of the more people who have access to data, the more people who have access to dashboards and any kind of way to combine it and use it in their specific job function, the faster the innovation cycles occur and the more connections that can be made. And then when you have the tops down plus the data access, it's like magic.
Yeah, just that. Give it the great democratization of data access, right? But you want a clean data layer, well labeled, the consent provenance of it, and then anyone across the company can take advantage of it to activate experiences.
Engenders trust, and it's super important. But if you don't have good data, they were talking about that earlier, what's the cost of not having good data? It's just garbage in, garbage out. And so you see companies just get stymied. We've seen, over a couple of years, we've seen a lot of failures too, don't get me wrong. But it's really starting with shifting left in the architecture and going back to the data foundations, having a strong degree of trust, and like you said, being able to address regulatory concerns, being able to trace the data all the way through all of the different permutations it takes in an agentic system. Super, super important. But if you don't start with good data, it all falls apart.
Yeah, if you haven't heard the shift left term, it's basically, everybody's software company slides go from left to right, point of data creation and then destination. And it's like shift left, and the way we think of it at Tealium is go to the point of data creation, right? Go there, do your work there, out at the edge, resolve around identity, enhance it, enrich it, track consent provenance, and then let it flow through. And you could just get, then you have a much more elegant architecture for everything you want to do downstream.
Yep.
So maybe
the hardest part to get right. And so having good partners is really important.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll have shift left t-shirts, Heidi. The AI maturity models are interesting and data maturity models are interesting. We'll go in with customers and we'll help them assess their data maturity and say, okay, well, here you could do this and that and that. And does Databricks have any practices around that? Do you help companies go in and assess and understand what all their potential data sources are, how they might, label and get that data ready for AI use cases? Talk a little bit about what you see and how you help with data maturity.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, we definitely think of ourselves as a product platform first, and we enable a tremendous partner ecosystem around that. So while I would say we definitely have opinions on data maturity and how to bring this all together, we actually work really closely with other partners like Slalom and yourselves to be able to get that message out. I would say we are seeing a tremendous amount of focus on very specific industry solutions and what are the data maturity models necessary for each of those solutions areas, whether it's personalization in ad targeting or it's cybersecurity for your call center. So we're starting to get there, but we think of ourselves as the picks and shovels to help you build solutions, and we leave a lot of those high level things to the industry experts.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of verticalization as well. We've done stuff specifically for automotive, specifically for banking, specifically for healthcare. And you get to where there's proprietary or industry-specific data sources and industry-specific vendors you have to connect to. And so, and then there are also going to be, industry-specific data moats that, people will build. Yeah.
One thing that I am seeing is a lot of companies, especially those who may not have the skill set in-house to build a solution, they are turning to us and asking, who are the companies, who are the industry leaders who are doing this well for different companies, and bring those solutions to market essentially. So we are starting to get more and more requests on what does the ecosystem look like, and then how do all of these data partners, whether they're SIs or ISVs or data sharing partners, how do they all work together within an ecosystem? And we have been successful in building out some of those market maps. I would say we're maybe 50% in on our journey of where we think we can get to in the next year or so. It takes a tremendous amount of investment to be able to get it right. So long story short, we're getting some people who just say, tell me where I can buy it. Tell me how I can just move faster by buying the solution. And some companies say, okay, I've invested in the people, I've hired the teams that are going to help me build it directly, and here's where the direction that I want to go in. Help me figure out how to do it directly.
Yeah, and the market maps are fascinating now. It's just this Darwinian, now that, it's so easy to start companies.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Literally, there's new companies every month in every new product category. So it's a Darwinian soup of companies that are, some are growing, some are shrinking.
There's a lot of VC funding. Yes.
VC's funding everything. Fun times. So, what does Databricks and Heather herself, what does the future look like? What are the exciting things, if we think out like 6 months and then even, a year, and then God forbid we think a year and a half out in this time frame. What are you guys excited about, and what are the trends you're thinking are going to occur?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of transformation that is happening, and we're working very closely with the leaders in that space. We're seeing them unlock really different revenue streams. I'll be honest, a lot of large enterprises, they are sitting on tremendous data sets, and they're trying to figure out how to monetize them. And we're working with them around that. That could be, a huge rush of new agentic first applications, like what we saw there with SIA and OneMine. But I think what it is people are trying to figure out, how do I take this zero party, first party, second party data and bring it together to solve, challenges that haven't been able to be solved before. So if you think of, how do we improve safety within the aerospace industry, or at our conference last year we had a drone. Actually, it was a human-sized drone that's completely reimagining transportation. Not even cars. We're talking about drones flying around Silicon Valley, taking people from one place to another. I mean, it's just things that I think there's a lot of potential on what could happen, but it's all tying back to what's the data, how are we going to bring it together, and how are we going to present it to a human. At no point do I feel like there's a lack of human in the loop. I think that's maybe the counter here is there's going to be a lot of agents talking to each other, but there's still an importance of making sure the quality is there. So humans will be in the loop. We haven't quite figured out how to crack that, and there will still be humans moving around in the world, buying things, identities trying to be stolen, all of these kinds of things that we need to address for no matter what.
Yeah, that's like I said earlier, we think if a company has a million a day now, they're going to have 2 million a day, but the first million aren't going away. Right. These humans aren't going away. And some of these other million will have humans talking to agents and humans talking to their agents or your agents. So, hey, hopefully we're still building a great world for humans. Yes. That is the big question. What are we going to be doing when there's all these agents out there? But hopefully enjoying life. Hopefully so, yes. Apparently I hear they're going to do all our jobs and we're all just going to get to relax and ride the wave. So we have 5 minutes left and we wanted to open it up for Q&A. If there are any questions in the audience for Heather and Databricks.
Floor first.
Any questions out there?
I have a question. Is there anything that's going a lot slower than you thought would by now? Because all we talk about is how fast things are going. Did you expect something would be further along?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I did share examples of people who are doing a lot. I think it will take a while to get all the way through the companies that are out there, and that have some companies are very niche focused, right? And I think it will take a while for those who have a really strong customer base. It's not really forward thinking to adopt. And I just want to echo one of the messages from the last panel, which is that if AI is a little bit like, analysis paralysis, I do think it's okay to start small and move slowly and be very comfortable with each step that you take along the journey. There are very small ways that AI, like just even one agent, can improve productivity. And if that's enough to be exciting for an organization or for a company, that is great. I wouldn't wait forever, because I am seeing a tremendous number of startups come in and just try to disrupt the biggest companies out there. I'm also seeing a lot of very large companies disrupt from within, which I think is also very exciting. So, but I think it will take a while for software and organizations as a whole to mature to being completely agentic, and I think that's okay also.
Thank you.
Hi, Heather, Jeff. Samir from the Travelers team, and we're doing a lot evaluating Databricks and Tealium and the entire ecosystem. So I was just curious your thoughts on the net new value like Unity Catalog provides when compared to what engineers used to do in the past with data lake architectures, and then when it comes to Genie. How real do you think it is that it can replace like dashboarding tools and when combined with a UI? Have you seen people already take things like that into production with Genie and in general?
Yeah, okay, so for the audience, Unity Catalog is the Databricks catalog layer, and it's a little bit more robust than a traditional catalog. It allows you to ensure that the right users have access to the data that's governed by it. So you don't necessarily want, the doorman to see the gold tables, the proprietary financial data, right? That's an extreme example, but there's lots of nuance in that. And our cataloging also, our Unity catalog also provides the ability to backtrack. Where did this data originate, and what were all the different steps that it took along a workflow, and what models were used? We get down to very specific table and row level lineage of the data. So that has been an absolute unlock. Unity catalog has been an unlock for a lot of our agentic capability, and it's by design. All of our agentic products, whether that's our AI gateway where we're serving Anthropic, OpenAI, and Llama models. This is really important so that there's that safety and guardrails and auditability and literally you can see visually where the data is flowing. So this has been really important for companies to be comfortable with what's happening with their data as they go down the agentic journey. Genie is it's like a conversational experience. And where I've seen the most with Genie is actually on the API usage of it, and using that to accelerate conversational ability in any kind of environment. So we use Genie within our dashboarding capabilities so that business users can ask any kind of question, how much sales did we do yesterday? Or how much sales did we do in Q4? You have to kind of know that Q4 is a very specific date range for your company, and this kind of understanding is really important. So we are doubling down on Genie. We think it's going to be incredibly valuable to have it embedded in lots of different parts of the Databricks platform to give more natural language capabilities to a very technical platform, to be honest. So both of them are super powerful and going forward very strongly.
And Genie replaces canned reports. I can tell you as someone who runs a business, our team will tell you, I have a different question every week, right? I don't want canned reports. Every week it's a different question because this is a dynamic world, right? So what we really want is really to ask questions about the data across the whole business. Yeah,
and so this is Jeff getting access to the Genie API so that rather than asking somebody, you can just ask somebody himself, which then, if you do that across thousands of people, you've really empowered an organization to move faster.
Exactly. Yep. And so the way I wanted to end, many of you here work for companies who have both Databricks and Tealium as your vendors. And what I would love for you to do is introduce your Databricks team to your Tealium team, because a lot of times they're under the CIO or the head data office, and this is under the MarTech office, and they don't know that this great data source you have with Tealium exists. But if you can get it into Databricks, you can do some really amazing things and unlock the power of their platform. And the second thing I want to do is announce that we have Databricks Delta Share going live December 1st, so that you can now activate, using all the Tealium activation capabilities, audiences of information of visitors and customers that you have inside Databricks without having to move the data over into Tealium. So Delta Share is going to go live. It's going to be awesome, and it's a great partnership. So thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Jeff. This is so exciting. We would love to bring these together, and awesome announcement on Delta sharing. We're super excited. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.